And we welcome you inside the friendly confines of the Tri-X 57 studios for a Tuesday edition of On Cue. I'm your host, as always, Rich Quinones. Hope everyone had a wonderful sports week. And, of course, you enjoyed the jam-packed slate of football games. As always, you can connect with us online, get social with us on Twitter, @RichQOnQ. A lot of stuff to dive into as we are fast approaching the end of the football season for this 17th of December, 2019, actually getting ready to say goodbye to the calendar year. And in the NFL, what'll happen now is you really start to separate yourself if you are a pretender to a contender. And we'll start with the NFC East. We'll start with the Philadelphia Eagles, who had a nice win over the Giants, come from behind win. Now, can they duplicate that? Were they able to do it again against the Washington Redskins on Sunday? And the answer was yes. In a game that the Washington Redskins basically refused to go quietly into the night. The Haskins played well. The Washington Redskins ran the ball. It was a back-and-forth type of game. The Eagles found themselves down 14-10 going into the locker room, and then they explode for 20 points in the fourth quarter. They ultimately win this one 37-27. But again, it was Carson Wentz who not only delivered a week before in overtime against the Giants when they were down 17-3, but came back and delivered once again, no less on the road against the Washington Redskins when they needed a touchdown late, and they got it. Big play, a third down conversion to Goddard, and then Wentz finds Ward. Unbelievable. This kid, Greg Ward, is just sitting there on the practice squad a couple years now, and you have to wonder why in the world didn't the Philadelphia Eagles brass realize that this kid was better than Mac Hollins. He had himself a day. Scott had himself a day. Sanders had himself a day with a $122 on the ground. And more importantly, the Eagles got to win 37-27. If you had the game at Washington and the points, you were sitting pretty until the last play of the game when Nigel Bradham returned a fumble for a touchdown. And that was the deficit right there at 10. So if you had Washington in 6.5, that's a bad beat for you. But at the end of the day, the Redskins, fought. They fought, and they're a team that has some players, but this is a game the Eagles had to have, and the Eagles took it 37-27, and they upped their mark to 7-7. Now, what does this mean? Well, you're waiting to see if the Dallas Cowboys would slip up against the Rams, and the Dallas Cowboys went out, and they absolutely just blasted the Rams on Sunday in Dallas. That game was not even close. It wasn't even competitive. The Dallas Cowboys, this is you talk about a team where they beat the Lions and then they lose to the Pats, the Bills, and they lose to the Bears, and they should have beat the Bears. They come back and they put up 44 against the Rams. They've upped their mark to 7-7, and this is all you need to know. Whoever wins Sunday is pretty much winning the NFC East. If the Dallas Cowboys beat the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday, then the Dallas Cowboys win the division. If the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday, then they have a very good shot at winning the division unless they slip up and they lose to the Giants to close out the regular season. So it's pretty much a de facto NFC East title game, is it not? I mean, the Cowboys could actually be the first 8-8 team to win the NFC East. The Giants were 9-7 the second time around with Eli in 2011 when they were a wild card and they went on a great run. So, again, it's pretty bad when you think about it. The Dallas Cowboys have all this offense and all this talent, and yet they can't put it together. The Philadelphia Eagles have dealt with so many injuries and the inconsistent play of the line and Carson Wentz and their defense, but yet now it's about getting hot at the right time. Now, I still think the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys, they're not really good football teams. But, again, it's you get in. If you get into the big dance, that's all that matters, to be quite honest with you. And after losing 3 straight to the Pats, Seattle, no offense, and Miami, which was a horrible loss with that defense giving up 37, they bounced back. They beat the Giants 23-17, and then they bounced back on the road and beat the Redskins 37-27. So the stage is set for the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. And listen, I think for all the criticism, right, it's very easy to criticize the quarterback Carson Wentz. 30 of 43, 266, 3 touchdown tosses. The fumbles have to be corrected. That defense did not help out the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, Haskins goes for 261. McLaren had 130 and a touchdown. 5 receptions. Adrian Peterson had over 65 yards, and he had a nice touchdown scamper. But the play, to me, that resonates is down 14-10 with about 4.5 to go in the third quarter. You're faced with a 2nd and 9 deep in Redskins territory, and Carson Wentz just rolls out, and just fires a strike for a touchdown toss. Those are the plays that you live with if you're the Philadelphia Eagles. Those are the plays that you want if you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Those are the plays that you have to have from the quarterback who you believe is a franchise quarterback. So when it was when it was crunch time, when it was clutch time, especially late in that game, again down 27-24 with under 40 seconds to go, Wentz backpedaling, and then floats it up, and Ward makes a heck of a catch and a heck of an adjustment on the play, and he beats Norman. So again, this team is showing you that they're resilient. And one of the other takeaways is the fact that there's no Howard, there's no Jeffrey. You've got young guys stepping up trying to take advantage of the situation, and that's exactly what the Philadelphia Eagles were able to do on Sunday. Now, the broader picture, when you look at the NFC, and we'll go around the league in a couple moments, the broader picture right now is that the 49ers and the Saints and the Vikings, and I'm still not entirely sold on the Green Bay Packers. Those are the teams, in my opinion, to beat in the NFC. And you saw what Breeze was able to do last night. Unbelievable. Broke another record for most touchdown tosses in his career. Had 4 last night. I believe 28 of 29. Unbelievable performance. They routed the Colts last night in New Orleans. Breeze just continues to climb the ranks when it comes to all-time stats. Listen, they're close to perfect right now. Even if they're the number 3 seed, they're 11-3, and they should finish out the season 12-4, 13-3. They've got the Titans and the Panthers to close out the season. So this is going to be a 12-13 win team, and it's going to be very hard for teams to go on the road and beat New Orleans. It really is. Green Bay, they're vulnerable. Minnesota, the question mark is still Kirk Cousins. San Francisco, I get it. They lost that heartbreaker late to Atlanta. They still clinched. They can run the football. Garoppolo's playing well, and they have a great lights-out defense. They're going to be a really tough team to beat on the road. AFC, a little more of a, I think you can say, top-heavy, if you will, with some of these teams. Well, really, the NFC is top-heavy. The AFC, the Bills, Chiefs, the Patriots, Baltimore, maybe the class of the conference right now with the type of season that Lamar Jackson is having. So, all right, we're just cranking up on a Tuesday edition of On Cue. Keep it locked in right here inside the friendly confines of the Tri-X 57 studios on this 17th of December, 2019. A lot more NFL talk on the other side. We'll get to Eli Manning's swan song with the Giants, who finally get a win. They snap a 9-game slide. I mean, that's pretty bad. Where do the Giants go from here? We'll get into the AFC. We still got the drive of the game. We'll give you some of my best plays as well. But as always, got to remind you, we'll do this in about 20 minutes or so with our Good Wheels Quality Used Cars drive of the game. Our good friends over at Good Wheels Quality Used Cars. You see the graphic right there. Check them out online, goodwheelsonline.com. Give them a call, 856-881-3557. And then, of course, if you need some work done on your car, Good Deal Auto and Marine. They're located on Brigantine Avenue. And, of course, 3800, I should say, Brigantine Boulevard on the island of Brigantine, 609-266-2300. They got the specials going on right now: shocks, brakes, mufflers, oil changes. Again, family-owned and operated, professional, cost-effective, courteous. They'll get you in and out. You need a scratch buffed out. Winter, we're in winter right now, folks, so what you got to do is you got to check your heating and cooling ventilation system. They'll get you on the road in no time. All right, keep it locked in on a Tuesday in late December. On the other side, we'll get into the Giants, the rest of the NFC picture. We'll give you some of the games, some of the plays that I had. We'll give you an early look at some of the lines. We'll squeeze in a little baseball talk as well on a Tuesday edition of On Cue. Keep it locked in inside the friendly confines of the Tri-X 57 studios, coming at you live in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
I am Carmine Cucinato, Vice President of Good Wheels Quality Used Cars. My dad started this business back in 1989, and we've been here in South Jersey ever since. Here at Good Wheels, we like to do it a little bit differently than everybody else. We don't want to just sell one car. We want to take care of our customers. We want them to come back. We service all of our vehicles. We're going to be here for you down the road if you need us. No matter where your credit stands, we have the financing solution to get you in the vehicle that you love. We want to build relationships with our customers. That's the benefit of dealing with a family business.
All right, everyone, welcome back. Thanks for keeping us locked in on a Tuesday edition of On Cue. I'm your host, Rich Quinones. As always, we put the show up as soon as we're done right here on the TriX57 Facebook page as well as mine. We tweet it out at Rich Q on Q. As far as the rest of the NFC picture, I told you we get in a little bit of the Giants who, it was bittersweet to watch, to be quite honest with you. I'm happy that Eli went out and had one more game for the home crowd, and it was an Eli type of game, right? Couple brilliant and great throws, and then a couple turnovers where you kind of scratch your head. But ultimately, the Giants get to win 36-20 over Miami. They improved to 3-11. That's not the story. You snapped a 9-game slide. You at least let Eli go out on his terms. And look, at the end of the day, I don't care if he's a game over 500, he's at 500, or a game under 500. I think his resume and his career speaks for itself. I find it comical that some people forget what he was able to do in 2011, basically carried this team with fourth quarter wins, dealt with the plantar fasciitis. Most quarterbacks would have been shut down, had the big wins, had the big win at home against the Falcons, went on the road, beat Aaron Rodgers and 15-1 Packers team that year. I mean, think about that. That's absolutely unbelievable. And again, here's another thing not a lot of people bring up. How many quarterbacks have actually gone on the road, right? And gone on the road and have won playoff games in Green Bay twice. So not only did he beat Favre in 2007, but then he goes back and they absolutely clobber a 15-1 Packers team. Then he goes on the road and he beats the 49ers in that defense where he throws for close to 360. And he basically, every play was being picked up off the mat. So, listen, the legacy, the career, I think he's a Hall of Famer. To me, it's intact. I don't believe he's going to get in first ballot, but I think ultimately he's worthy. You can't tell the history of the NFL or some of these historic plays and game-changing plays, that changed really the course of NFL history without including Eli Manning with those runs with the Giants. So I was happy to watch him go out and win and sling it one more time, finish 20-28 283, 2 touchdowns. I still think ultimately, and the defense is still young. You got to cut ties with Ogletree. I don't know what you're going to do with Tate. Baker has quietly put together 2 nice wins from a corner position to secondary position, but they still need a pass rusher. And for everyone clamoring, don't win because you're going to lose Chase Young. Do you guys not know that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to draft a quarterback at number 1? You guys already know who the quarterback's going to be. It's a kid that won the Heisman. It's Buell coming out of LSU. So I think we kind of know that ultimately Cincinnati is going to draft a quarterback. So it just sometimes it just kind of like boggles my mind a little bit how we think, well, right away, it's Joe Burrow, so they're going to draft him because they need a quarterback. The Giants are going to draft another quarterback. They believe in Daniel Jones going forward. Now I still think the verdict's out on Daniel Jones. It's something to be said where you have a quarterback who never misses a game, and then Daniel Jones comes in and he can't even play 10 games, 11 games his rookie season because he's already injured. They've got decisions to make with the head coach. I don't believe the head coach should be back, nor do I want the head coach back. I think that Gettleman, is Slayton a nice draft pick? Yeah, this kid's turned out to be a flat-out game breaker and a difference maker offensively for this team. Absolutely, no doubt. You saw the game that he had. He had another touchdown. He had a couple big receptions for 31 yards. Shepard had the big game with a $111 for 9 receptions. Tate had the acrobatic circus catch. So, I think the offense, if the offensive line can play and they're consistent with Daniel Jones, you need that athletic quarterback. We know this. The NFL has changed. Peyton, Eli, Ben, Rivers, Brady. Can you imagine those guys coming out now? You have to be able to scramble a little bit. Archie Manning was able to scramble and run around. The reason you need an athletic quarterback now is because if the pocket collapses, if the pocket breaks down, you need a quarterback that can roll out, that can improvise third and short, second and short, extend drives, fresh set of downs. Those quarterbacks that I mentioned really can't do that. That's never been their strong suit. Rodgers can improvise. Rodgers can move around a little bit. Rodgers slides a little bit to his left, slides to the right a little bit, and he can extend plays. These guys can't do that. That's why you look at, the Giants drafting Daniel Jones, who's already have close to 300 yards rushing. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson. This is why Patrick Mahomes. They want these athletic, mobile quarterbacks. They don't want pure pocket passers. The old GMs and the owners love the pure pocket passers. Yeah, you need a guy that can still throw it and hang in the pocket. But the way the NFL is now, if something breaks down, then I need someone to make a play. I need these quarterbacks to show that they're athletic. Lamar Jackson and Mahomes, they're your two guys. And what Lamar Jackson is doing this year is just historic. Is it not? You look at his numbers. Winston's turning the ball over, but Winston's going to throw for over 5,000 yards. It's ridiculous. Jameis Winston has 4,500 yards. Jameis Winston scrambles here and there. Not to the degree. Lamar Jackson, you can make a case as a top 10 running back right now in the NFL. And this is a quarterback that's 22 years of age. If you go and you look at what Lamar Jackson's doing this year, it's unheard of, folks. It's flat out unheard of. The numbers that he's putting up are absolutely staggering. Let me give you the numbers right now. 14 games played. He's completing 66% of his passes. He's going to throw for well over 3,000 yards. So, yeah, he's only averaging about 206 through the air, but it seems as though every 2 or 3 passes is a touchdown. He's got 33 touchdowns. And did I even bring up how many yards rushing he has? Well over 1,000? That's you talk about a quarterback that just flat out makes plays every single solitary week. Lamar Jackson can have a 10 of 15, a 16 of 20 game, and 16 of those passes, 3 of them are touchdowns. That's ridiculous. He was 15 of 23 against the Jets. 5 of those passes were touchdown tosses. Prior to that, 16-25, 3 were touchdown tosses. Against the Rams, 15-20, 5 touchdown tosses. What more do you want from this kid? The Ravens are very balanced. They can win in the trenches, offensively and defensively. They got a great offense. They can run the football. You got Lamar Jackson. You got game breakers, and we know they can play defense. Right now, I think they're the odds-on, clear-cut favorite to come out of the AFC. And I say this, I understand Pats fans. You still got Brady and Belichick, but there's something amiss with that offense. There's something not right with that offense with New England. I want to go around the league for a couple moments. And if you guys are just tuning in, it's Tuesday edition of On Cue on the 17th of December, 2019. I'm your host, Rich Quinones. We're coming at you inside the friendly confines of the Tri-X 57 studios in Atlantic City, New Jersey. The week in the NFL kicked off with Baltimore, as we just documented all over the Jets, 42-21. New England, 34-13 over Cincinnati. I love New England in that spot, even with the points. Again, the defense had a couple big plays. Cincinnati going nowhere. We know they're going to draft a kid out of LSU. You heard me just mention Jameis Winston. Tampa Bay 38-17. Imagine if Winston can cut down these turnovers. You know, Carson Wentz has a boatload of fumbles in the first 60-something odd games of his career. Jameis Winston is the same thing, but yet they got a really good offense. They absolutely shellac. I love the over in this game. They hit it at 38-17. They went well over to 43 against Detroit. Tampa's a team that, if they can figure things out, I think they're on the rise. Green Bay against Chicago, again, you know, kind of a quiet night for Rodgers, quiet day. But how about the ending of that game where the Bears were so desperate, where they were doing lateral after lateral after lateral, and you got to play at the end of the game where you got one player trying to play hero ball when all he should have done is just lateral it, and maybe the Bears are going to score. They've been officially eliminated. You look at Green Bay right now. Green Bay, listen, if Green Bay can host a playoff game, we always know it's tough to play in Lambeau. They improved to 11-3, 7-1. So home field advantage is still in play for the Green Bay Packers. Kansas City in the snow. Mahomes brilliant all over Denver. 23-3. I don't know what Denver's going to do. Does Denver believe they have a quarterback? Who knows? Who knows what direction they're going to do? We already mentioned the Giants over Miami, 36-20. In a game and a division, this is why I tell you guys, look but don't touch when you talk about the AFC South. Houston over Tennessee, 24-21. I can't figure out this division for the life of me. I really can't. It's like an enigma. This division is so inconsistent. Just when we're praising Ryan Tannehill, Tennessee goes into this game having won 5 out of the last 6. 5-1 is Tannehill. He's playing good football, and all of a sudden they have a dud against Houston. Houston 9-5. Houston right now, by virtue of that win, 4-1 in the division, they should be able to lock up the AFC South. And again, defense, they can run the football, and they have a very good quarterback in Deshaun Watson. Seattle, in a high-scoring affair over Carolina. You know, Russell Wilson just quietly putting together an unbelievable season. 20 of 26, 286, 2 touchdown passes, and more importantly, the offensive line is trying to keep Russell Wilson upright. Russell Wilson, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. This kid never turns the football over. He's 28 touchdown passes to 5 picks. Unbelievable. I mean, he's a great quarterback. I'm not entirely sold on Seattle. I'm not. I think a lot of it is smoke and mirrors because I'm not the biggest believer in Seattle. I just don't see that lights-out defense that I saw in years past with the Seattle Seahawks. But they're 11-3. They've clinched a playoff spot. Cleveland against Arizona. I told you guys last week, I even mentioned it too on the radio, that I loved Arizona at home. I love the fact that they were getting points. Cleveland, this is your weekly reminder that the Browns are not going to win more than 6 games. And how about this? Let me spend a moment on the Browns for a second. How about the Cleveland Browns? All this fanfare, all the weapons, Mayfield and Chubb and Landry and Beckham and all these players and the tight end, and everyone pegged this team to be a Super Bowl contender. I was not buying into the noise. I wasn't. And now you've got a situation where you've got 3 or 4 Browns players during a blowout loss against Arizona telling the Cardinals players, come get me. And not, hey, meet me in the schoolyard at 3 o'clock so we can fight. No, come get me. Get me the heck out of here. I mean, how bad is that? And I don't know if you can go any further with this head coach. And this is what happens. You've got talented players on this roster. Hunt's a talented player. Chubb's a talented player. Beckham's a talented player. Landry's a talented player. I don't know too much about Mayfield being top 10, let alone 15 quarterback. I think Mayfield has struggled mightily this year. Really regressed. But you've got talent on this team. And yet you put it all in a pot and you try to make a nice little stew. And the issue is that you've got a toxic environment. It's one of the reasons the Giants turned around. They cut Jenkins. Sometimes you can have talented players, but they're not the players. They don't fit. They don't fit the scheme. They don't fit the locker room. They don't fit the culture. And that's what Cleveland has right now. That's why they stink. That's why they're 6-8. That's why they're going to be on the outside looking in again. Jacksonville on the road against Oakland. Two teams, very disappointing season for Jacksonville with the expectations of giving Foles $88 million, that he was going to start and stay healthy and lead into the playoffs. It didn't happen, but you saw the emergence of Minshew, another quarterback that I think they're going to take a serious look at and maybe cut ties with Foles. Oakland, their last game in Oakland, the black hole, a debacle. I mean, again, here's a team where all we hear is the Raiders. I told you this. Gruden's a joke as a head coach. He's a joke. How much are you paying this guy now? It's utterly ridiculous. I didn't care for him in the booth, and I certainly don't care for him on the sidelines. They lose to Jacksonville 20-16. Oakland falls to 6-8. Minnesota, very impressive win on the road. They've blown out the Chargers. The Chargers, I don't know what the heck you're going to do next year with that new stadium. You're not going to draw. The Spanos, that family is relatively cheap. You know, their thinking is, well, the Raiders are moving to Vegas. They're going to have a great draw. It's perfect for them in the NFL. You can't say the same thing about the Chargers. What they should have done is build a stadium that is a stadium where, if need be, you're fitting 55,000. If you have to extend it a little bit within, then maybe you can squeeze 65 to 70. That's not the case. Phillip Rivers looks absolutely shot. He looks like he's done. And who knows? I mean, there's talk now, okay, Brady and Giselle, maybe they want to go to the West Coast. Listen, they don't need the money. I don't think if you're Tom Brady, you're 41, 42, you want to learn a new offense, go to another system after spending your entire career, your Hall of Fame career as one of the all-time greats. You can argue the greatest quarterback of all time in New England, and then you want to go to the Chargers. But Rivers, horrible, absolutely horrible. 3 interceptions, couple fumbles, bad turnovers, and the Chargers just playing out the string. Minnesota 10-4. I still am a fan of the Vikings because of that defense, and I think they have one of the most underrated players in the NFL. Even though he got nicked up in Delvin Cook, they were still able to run the ball for $137. You had the Dallas Cowboys all over the Rams 44-21. And then you got San Francisco against Atlanta, which is interesting because I thought this was the type of game where if you're a Niners fan, you're at home, you should just put away the you should put away the Atlanta Falcons. And this was a back-and-forth type of game, but then the defense gives up 19 points. And late in that game, Matt Ryan, and this is what we'll call this one. We did the Eagles last week. We'll give the Falcons a little love, and we'll give them the Good Wheels Quality Used Cars drive of the game for what they were able to do late in that game, because even after it looked like they were going to get screwed on a play, right? I mean, think about this. You're down in this game 22-17, and you not only score 1 touchdown, but you really scored 2 because they had the play that was overturned to a hooper, which I thought was relatively close to being a touchdown. And then they go right back, and he goes to Julio Jones, where they went under the peep show for this one, the 5-yard touchdown toss from Ryan, and it stood. Now, talk about another bad beat. Ready? The over in this game was 46. So the last play of the game, what happens? This is right now. Now, I'm going to do the math for you because it's absolutely crazy. At this moment, it's 23-22. The over is 45 and a half. Last play of the game, San Francisco tries to make something out of nothing, and you get a fumble return for a touchdown to hit the over in this one, 29-22. That gets you to 51. The Niners fall to 11-3. And again, the way it shapes out right now in the NFC, the standings at this moment in the NFC, I told you, it's top-heavy. So when we try to break this down right now, nothing really is decided as far as seedings. Seattle right now would be the 1 seed. They win the tiebreaker over Green Bay based on best win percentage. Green Bay would be the number 2 team at 11-3. They win the tiebreaker over New Orleans. Again, best percentage in conference games. You got to go to the conference. The Saints, 11-3. The Cowboys would be the 4 seed, or the Eagles, the divisional winner. And right now, the Cowboys win the tiebreaker over Philly. San Fran, because of that loss, they dropped all the way to the 5 seed. Can you believe that? If they would have won that game, they would be sitting pretty at 12-2. They would be in the driver's seat for the number 1 seed. Instead, they go from the 1-2 seed all the way down to the 5 seed because of that. Minnesota right now currently at the 6 seed at 10-4. So the Falcons get this week's drive of the game. Again, don't forget to visit our good friends online, goodwheelsonline.com. All right, just halfway through on a Tuesday edition of On Cue, coming at you inside the friendly confines of the Tri-X 57 studios. We will go, we'll continue to go around the league on the other side. I'll give you some of the plays. We'll take an early look at lines, and I want to squeeze in a little baseball talk before we get out of here on a Tuesday. So keep it locked in. Again, don't forget, you can always visit us online at trix57.com. We put the show up as soon as we're done on demand on the Facebook page. Like, comment, share. We always appreciate the engagement. Quick time out. We'll come back on the other side.
I am Carmine Cucinato, Vice President of Good Wheels Quality Used Cars. My dad started this business back in 1989, and we've been here in South Jersey ever since. Here at Good Wheels, we like to do it a little bit differently than everybody else. We don't want to just sell one car. We want to take care of our customers. We want them to come back. We service all of our vehicles. We're going to be here for you down the road if you need us. No matter where your credit stands, we have the financing solution to get you in the vehicle that you love. We want to build relationships with our customers. That's the benefit of dealing with a family business.
All right, a couple more games to look at from over the weekend. And again, it's Tuesday edition of On Cue. Rich Quinones here. Buffalo over Pittsburgh. That's a big win for the Buffalo Bills, 17-10 on the road. Hodges had a couple picks, a couple turnovers late for Pittsburgh. Buffalo, I give them a ton of credit for what they've been able to accomplish this year, and they're still in play to win the AFC East. So the Buffalo Bills, I mean, that's a pretty remarkable feat. This is a 10-4 team. They're going to make the playoffs. Really impressive performance by Buffalo with that defense. And I believe the Bills are a sleeper. The Bills are a team that could potentially upset the apple cart and go on the road and beat the likes of a Baltimore. They can go on the road and maybe beat the likes of a New England. Now, this is where the rubber meets the road here for the Buffalo Bills. Where you're really going to be tested is that you've got the Pats coming up. Now, they lost that game early on in the year, 16-10. That was in week 4, I believe. But since then, they've stubbed their toe once or twice. They had a nice 3-game winning streak. They lost to the Ravens. They were tested. They were right in that game as well to the very end. Jackson made a couple big plays. They come back on the road. They're going to stay on the road, and they're going to battle the Patriots. Early line in that one. Obviously, the Patriots are favored. Let me just give you the accurate spread on that one. Not a bad weekend for myself with a couple strong plays and some parlays. You get to this point of the NFL season, and some of these games you kind of want to steer clear of. But I do like some of the overs, especially for teams that aren't going anywhere. I think they're more inclined to just sling it a little bit. As suspected, I thought the Pats would be a 5.5 to 6-point favorite. Opening line right now, currently, they're at 6.5, 7. They're laying against the Bills. And then you had last night Drew Brees. What can you say about Drew Brees? Unbelievable. One of the most, if not the most accurate passer in NFL history. The Saints, tough season for Frank Wright and Indianapolis. And I got to believe if you're the Colts, you're going to be looking for a quarterback. I mean, you might want to get back on the phone and call Andrew Luck and try to talk him out of retirement. You're not going to get it done with Brissett. And I know right away, I was trying to connect the dots. They can run the football. They've got weapons. They've got a good offensive line. So right away, what name pops up? Eli Manning. I don't see it happening. I think Eli retires. But you've got Cam Newton out there as well. I mean, think about that. Cam Newton, is he going to go back with Carolina now that they have Allen and they're going to start Greer on Sunday? But the Saints, big win last night at home. Drew Brees, unbelievable. The numbers, the stats, the statistics, they're ridiculously gaudy. We know he's an all-time great. We know he's roller skating into Canton. So, and listen, the Saints, I think for some of the bad losses that the Saints have had over the last several seasons, the Minneapolis Miracle, the no call last year against the Rams. This is a team that when you got to go on the road to New Orleans and play this team, they're a tough out. Now, the 2 games they lost, that was the money line hit where I had a big weekend with Atlanta. They were 9.5-point dogs, and I took Atlanta in the money line. Atlanta smoked them 26-9. They have now gone on and scored 34, 34, 26, 46, and 34. And their only loss in that period was that ridiculous back-and-forth game against the Niners, really the game of the year. They close out the season, back-to-back road games against the Titans and the Panthers. At this moment, you've got Drew Brees, you've got the running game, you've got Michael Thomas, you've got a defense that has just picked up Jenkins to help Eli Apple and that secondary. You have Kamara. You've got so many weapons. Is Minnesota going to be able to go into New Orleans and beat the Saints? Green Bay, those games, they're going to be tailor-made for fans that love high-scoring affairs. New Orleans is such a tough place to play in. And when I mention some of these playoff teams, give me the quarterback that has that championship pedigree. Minnesota, they're still waiting to see Kirk Cousins to have that moment. If Kirk Cousins does not win a playoff game this year, Minnesota they're still going to be questioning all that money they gave him. That's just the reality of the sport. These are the guys this is why I don't like that you have to pin wins and losses to every quarterback, because by that argument, then what about come the playoff time, instead of people saying, well, it's 52 53-man roster. Give those guys credit. Well, you can't always have it both ways. You can't pin every win and loss to the quarterback. If you're Kirk Cousins, you had a nice win against the Lions. You put up 39 against the Chargers. You had a couple of defensive scores in that one. Now you've got a huge game against the Packers. You close out the season against the Bears. The Bears want to make you stub your toe. The Packers game is a huge game. There's a lot riding on these games this weekend in the NFL. And like I said, the big one in our backyard, NFC East, the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. And if the Philadelphia Eagles play like they played on Sunday against the Washington Redskins, and the Dallas Cowboys, even though Prescott's nicked up a little bit with his thumb, his finger, if they come out and they play like they played against the Rams, they're going to smoke the Philadelphia Eagles. They are. You know, the Philadelphia Eagles right now, you can say they're doing it with smoke and mirrors. Their quarterback is basically saying, get on my back. Let me lead you. You know, follow me. And he's done a heck of a job the last 2 weeks. Big win at home, overtime win against the Giants, where the Giants inexplicably, for some reason, forgot where Ertz was not once but twice in that game. And then on the road down against a team in Washington that has played a lot better this season. But it comes down to the game against the Dallas Cowboys. And I think it could be a crossroads or career-defining game for Carson Wentz, because this is the game, if anything, right? A Cowboys win on Sunday gives him the NFC East title no matter what happens in Week 17. Meaning the division could have an 8-8 winner for the first time in its history, which is bad enough for the idea of people thinking that the NFC East is a bad division. Now you're going to throw out an 8-8 team. Okay, whatever. The Cowboys gave all that money to Ezekiel Elliott. $90 million deal, right? 55 of it guaranteed. He has not been able to run the football the way we've been accustomed to. He had a turn back the clock type of performance against the Rams when he ran for $117. He's only had 3 runs over 20 yards to start for this season. Now, again, in this type of game for the Philadelphia Eagles, they're going to stack the box, and they are going to dare Dak Prescott to beat them. And then ultimately, offensively for the Philadelphia Eagles, when you give a quarterback a 4-year contract worth $128 million, such as the Philadelphia Eagles giving that to Carson Wentz, you got to do better than a 7-7 record. You just have to. You got to do better than being 28th in yards per attempt. Now, they don't have a ton of game breakers, but you got to elevate some of these players, right? I mean, think about this. You have to elevate some of these players. If you go back to the game against Seattle, where Carson Wentz struggled, he's got the second most fumbles in the NFL since that game. Daniel Jones has fumbled 13 times. I think Carson Wentz has fumbled 14. You can say that was a bad game by Carson Wentz. All of a sudden now, he's kind of come back. You've got no Aguilar, no Jackson, no Jeffrey, no Howard. So what do? You pick up the slack. You go to Goddard and Ertz and Sanders and Scott, these guys. You go to Ward with 41 seconds off. You go to Sanders, which was arguably one of his best throws of his career, rolling out late, midway through that, I should say, with about 5 to go in that third quarter, down, rolling out to his right, and just a laser strike to Sanders. That's the Carson Wentz that you paid $88 million to, right? That's the reason, or $128 million to, I'm sorry. That's the reason you gave him a 4-year deal. That's the reason you're saying we're justifying this signing because of what we just saw, and you're justifying it back. But again, you need that front four on the offensive line to help this team out. You have to. And like I said, the Dallas Cowboys, they're playing for their playoff lives. And ultimately, Jason Garrett is fighting for his job. Doug, if the Eagles miss the playoffs, he still gets a pass because 2 years removed from winning the Super Bowl, and you're going to look at all these injuries. That's how it happens. You win the Super Bowl in 2017. That's the first franchise title, first franchise championship. That will buy you a couple down years. That's it. That's just the bottom line. Now, again, the problem is when you look around, Howie Roseman hasn't done a good job of evaluating talent of late. Doug also needs guys like Reich and guys like DeFilippo, guys in his ear that he's had in the past. Again, ultimately, I think the guy that might be in trouble is going to be Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator. So again, listen, there's going to be a scapegoat if they miss the playoffs. So to me, this is a game where the Philadelphia Eagles, everyone talked about that dynasty, that window talk. The age is starting to show for the Philadelphia Eagles. They're the third oldest team in the NFL. You got 8 starters who are 30-plus years of age. 4 more who are 29 years of age. So you've got a veteran-laced roster. That tells you you're in win mode now. They're desperate to get back to the playoffs, right? After winning a game last year, 2 years removed from winning a Super Bowl. I don't really think they're going to be able to make much noise. I don't, because I don't think they're a very good team. And I really don't think the Dallas Cowboys are a very good team, to be quite honest with you as well. But it's right there for one of these teams. And if the Cowboys win on Sunday, it's a moot point to close out the regular season. The Cowboys will be your NFC's champions. If the Eagles win, then they're pretty much there, because I would say they're going to beat the Giants to close out the season. So to some extent, they control it by winning out. All right, last time out on a Tuesday. We'll come back. I'll give you an early look at some of these lines. We will start to wrap it up. I'll see if we've got some time. I'll squeeze on a little baseball talk. It's a Tuesday edition of On Cue. Keep it locked in right here to TriX57, our Facebook page, and on demand. As soon as we're out of here, we'll tweet it out at Rich Q on Q. We'll wrap things up with an early look at some lines, some of the best plays. I'll give you my picks and baseball talk to wrap it up on a Tuesday down the shore, the 17th of December, 2019.
I am Carmine Cucinato, Vice President of Good Wheels Quality Used Cars. My dad started this business back in 1989, and we've been here in South Jersey ever since. Here at Good Wheels, we like to do it a little bit differently than everybody else. We don't want to just sell one car. We want to take care of our customers. We want them to come back. We service all of our vehicles. We're going to be here for you down the road if you need us. No matter where your credit stands, we have the financing solution to get you in the vehicle that you love. We want to build relationships with our customers. That's the benefit of dealing with a family business.
Today we are here to showcase the unique and experiential attractions throughout Atlantic City.
Little Water Distillery is Atlantic City's first and only craft distillery to produce whiskey, rum, vodka, and gin.
With tours and tastings, it's the perfect site to find your new beloved spirit, produced locally.
Swing your way over to the largest indoor Topgolf swing suite at Ocean Casino Resort.
Topgolf Swing Suite is an immersive social experience, offering 11 private bays to play and enjoy fantastic food, beverage service, and ocean views.
With a massive screen and a selection of exciting virtual games such as 3 unique golf games, baseball, football, hockey, carnival classics, and even zombie dodgeball, the Topgolf Swing Suite delivers a one-of-a-kind simulation that's fun for golfers and non-golfers alike.
All you need is love and chocolate.
Made Atlantic City Chocolate Bar is New Jersey's only bean-to-bar chocolate shop.
Husband and wife duo have joined forces in the kitchen to create single origin chocolate and a unique environment for guests to enjoy.
In addition to great chocolate, guests can indulge in wine by the glass or bottle, local brews, or a dessert and cocktail menu, all of which incorporate made chocolate.
All of these attractions offer unique space for private groups and events.
Contact a member of the Meet AC team and we'd be happy to assist with the planning of your next event.
All right, as we start to wrap things up on a Tuesday edition of On Cue, coming at you for this 17th of December 2019. We got the holidays right around the corner, so we don't talk to you next week. Hope everyone has a wonderful holiday and Christmas and whatever you're celebrating. Be safe, be sound as always, and enjoy it. I was just double checking to see if Jones was officially listed as still questionable for the Giants on Sunday. You know, he said, listen, I think for a young kid to come in under these circumstances, kid's throwing wide. He's got 20 total touchdowns this year. He's tough. He's accurate. I like Daniel Jones. I still think the verdict is out, though, and I think that's fair to say. But I'll tell you, it was fun to watch him against Tampa Bay, and then it was really fun to watch Eli Manning sling it one last time on Sunday against the Miami Dolphins. All right, let me give you an early look at some of these games, some of these lines. Remember, you get 3 games now on Saturday. No Thursday night game. Texans and the Bucks. Texans 9-5. They're laying 3. Right away, the thing that stands out is the over in this game, 51 total number of points. I do like what Tampa Bay has done. Tampa Bay quietly has put together a 7-7 season. For all the inconsistencies of Jameis Winston, 4,500 yards and 30 touchdown passes. The Bills and the Pats, the game of the weekend and the game of the day on Saturday, along with that 8:15. I mean, my goodness, you got a full slate of games on Saturday. Wow. The Bills and the Patriots. Bills traveled to New England. They lost this one earlier in the season, as I mentioned, but it's a different team. The maturation process now, pardon me, with what the Bills have been doing with that offense and that defense. Pats are laying 6.5. Too high for my blood, to be quite honest with you. I actually think the Bills can cover in this game and keep it a field goal game. The Rams on the road against the 49ers. The Rams, I think it's too little too late. How about the Rams? They were the story of the NFL last year. They couldn't do anything in the Super Bowl, and then they've waited late to start playing better football. It didn't help that they got shellacked by the Cowboys. It's so hard to get back to the playoffs. And it's so harder when you lose a Super Bowl to get back to the Super Bowl. The Rams are going to be on the outside looking in. I like the Niners in this one. I like the over at 45. Niners are laying 6.5. Jacksonville and the Falcons, I wouldn't touch that game, but the Falcons are favored by 7. They score about 30-plus at home. The Ravens and the Browns, this is the Browns' last stand. I mean, they're pretty much done this year, but show me something. I mean, give me something to believe in if you're a Browns fan right now. And I'm just not seeing it. I think they flat out roll over like a bunch of dogs. I told you this in the beginning of the season. They were not winning more than 6 games, and I stand by that declaration. Ravens will look to improve to 13-2, and they should be able to do it and wrap things up in the AFC North. The Saints and the Titans. Interesting game with the Saints coming on the road now. They're actually laying 1.5. And I think the Titans, they've been such a sporadic team this year. They're going to give Tannehill a big contract. You're not going to see Mariota anymore, but I like the Saints in this one. I think the over's a little high, over under 50. Panthers and the Colts, here's another game I wouldn't touch. That line's probably going to move to about 8, knowing that Greer's going to start for the Panthers. Cincinnati and Miami, oh my goodness. Miami Dolphins are favored in this game against a 1-13 Cincinnati team that, oh, by the way, is 0-7 on the road. We kind of know the direction they're going to do in April with their draft pick. Steelers and the Jets, not inclined to look at this one. Giants and the Redskins. Again, the Redskins at home, laying 2.5. It depends. If Eli plays, I think the Giants can win this game. Daniel Jones, we just don't know. I mean, he's not 100%. I don't think you have to play Daniel Jones, to be quite honest with you. I really don't. I think you can basically, you can shut him down and give him some rest. I just really think so. And that gives Eli 2 more games. Or you just go to Alex Tanney and you see what you have. You got Eli to 500. You got Eli to win his last game in Giant Stadium, in MetLife Stadium. You end it right there. Denver's laying 6.5 against the Lions. Again, that's that game, the Raiders and the Chargers. I can't touch these games because they're meaningless games. Eagles right now, as it stands, are a 2.5-point underdog. I think that line can go up to 3. I really do. I think the betting public is going to fall back in love with the Cowboys, prisoners of the moment. You're going to see that line creep up. Cardinals in Seattle. Cardinals are 9.5-point underdogs. I think the Cardinals will cover in this one. I've been saying this for a while. I think this is a playoff team in 1 to 2 years. I like what they're doing in Arizona, especially with Murray. You got Kansas City and the Bears. Again, that's a game I'm not touching. Packers and the Vikings, 4.5. You guys know where I'm at when it comes to 4.5 type of games. This is a game where I'll just kind of look and I'm not going to touch. I'll sit back and I'll kind of enjoy it. But I do think you got 2 or 3 really good games. And I think ultimately for the Philadelphia Eagles, you're at home. So you know that stadium is going to be, hopefully you think that stadium is going to be noisy and rocking. And look, you're a 7-7 team. You've been inconsistent all season long. That's just the bottom line. Do either of these teams deserve to make the playoffs? No, they don't. I mean, look at the Eagles season. They were down 17-0, and they beat the Redskins. They lose to the Falcons on a 4th down breakdown. They lose a bad game to the Lions. They should have lost to the Packers if the Packers decide to throw the football late. They beat up on the Jets, and then they lose to the Vikings, the Cowboys, back-to-back games on the road. We write them off. They beat the Bills. They beat them up. They come back and they beat the Bears. But again, then they lose 3 in a row. Bad loss Seattle, bad loss on the road to Miami. They have been such a sporadic, inconsistent team that by the grace of God, if they win the next 2 and get in, they're not going to make any noise in the playoffs because they're not good and they're void in talent at certain positions. But they have shown again that they are a resilient bunch, and I think there's something to be said about that. I really do. And, you know, for that window that we talked about, that dynasty talk, it dies down pretty quickly. It really does. All right, we're going to start wrapping up on a Tuesday edition of On Cue. Appreciate you guys, as always, tuning us in. As soon as we're out of here, don't forget the show's going to be up and available on demand. We'll tweet it out on our Twitter handle, Rich Q, at Rich Q on Q, and, of course, at TriX57. Next week, hopefully, with the holidays, we'll try to squeeze in a show. If we don't talk to you, have a wonderful holiday, and, of course, Merry Christmas to everyone out there. And then we got New Year, and then we start to get into the playoffs. We'll know next week where the Eagles are, and we'll know if we have an NFC East winner. We're working on a couple of guests lined up over the next week or two to close out the calendar year. So we got a lot of stuff moving ahead, and we always think and we always enjoy the good folks here at the TriX57 studios for keeping us on the air every Tuesday, coming at you in the morning from 10 to 11 a.m. When we post on Facebook, wherever you guys are watching us, let us know. Comment. Share. I always enjoy the banter. I always enjoy you guys connecting with us on social media, as I alluded to. Always thank the sponsors of the show. Couldn't do it without you guys as well. So with that being said, hopefully we'll talk to you early next week. We'll squeeze in a show. We'll get through the gamut of Week 16 already in the NFL. I will post my picks online at Rich Q on Q, as well as my Facebook page. And with that being said, everyone have a wonderful sports weekend. Enjoy your Saturday games. Enjoy your Sunday slate of football. We'll mix in, I promise, some baseball next week, some NBA, as you kind of start to see where some teams are in the NBA right around Christmas time. Everyone have a wonderful holiday. Be safe, be sound. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. It's a Tuesday edition of On Cue, coming at you inside the friendly confines of the TriX Studios, TriX 57 Studios in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Hasta luego with you.